Oh, you guys are too kind. It's it's so good to see you. I'm always at the other end of the building with a lot of little people. So now I get to see all these grown-up adult faces and you look beautiful. I love this church very much. And it's not the building, it's the people. I love who comes in these doors. And I love that all of you guys have a story, and all of these stories make up this church. And I love that the presence of God is so real here and that he changes lives all the time. I just love that about this church. And we put these flowers here for you moms because, flowers just make you happy and they make you smile. And so I hope those are just, a pretty sight to see today. So today we are talking about mirrors. And, mirrors are kind of a big deal. I don't know if you guys know that, but I'm going to tell you, mirrors are a big deal. Mirrors are our perspective. And today we're talking about the kind of mirrors, our perspective of how we see God and how we think God sees us. And it's really the most important telling thing about your life is how you see God and how you think God sees you. Because it really does write your story. It says everything about your story. I was thinking mirrors, I know the obvious. We do mirrors for grooming, but who knew that you use mirrors for everything? There's mirrors in the medical field. There's mirrors in the military. It's technology. It's law enforcement. Mirrors, they're used for everything, and it's just a really critical piece of life. And using your mirrors correctly and the right mirror saves you from a lot of mishaps and maybe even a fatality. When I was a young mom, Dale had bought us this really old brown van. And, it was the kind that's metal, you know that nobody could hurt this van because it's just like a tank. And so I had just run down the street. I think we had a couple of kids, they were little, and I was getting pizza. And I was going to bring it home, and I backed up into this little sports car. And this guy came running out of the pizza place, and he says, "Lady, what about your side view mirrors?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, the side view mirrors. Those would have really helped me." And gratefully, nothing happened to either vehicle. I don't know how it happened, but the van picked up his car. And so all these guys who are really strong came running out, and they actually had to lift the little sports car off of the van, and then away we went, and I'm so glad there was nothing worse to that. But you guys all have a silly mirror moment. How many of you have come to church and you think you have the right shoes on? Maybe they're both black, but they're the wrong pair. Or maybe the earring, the wrong one. And I know a couple of times I've come to church and my shirt is on one backwards and two wrong side out. And I'm always grateful for a friend that says, "Follow me." And they help kind of twist things around. And so we all have these, crazy mirror moments. But mirrors are just very critical for life, and the right kind of mirror is critical. In this action movie, what I would call life, and you guys would have to agree with me that life is action. It moves fast. And once you think, "I got it figured out," it all changes. It really is an action movie. I think there's two mirrors that we use that really, it sets our story. Our mirrors really tell our story. And there's the mirror that I call the life sucker. And then there's the mirror that's the life giver. And I've got to do these really carefully so I don't flash them in your eyes, because I learned that. I did that in one service. But there's these two mirrors, and you've got your life sucker and you've got your life giver. And both of these mirrors are this close. they're so close. And it's just which mirror we're going to look in that's going to really shape our story, and it's going to shape our today, and it's going to shape our future. You know, have you ever wondered why just, different stories in the Bible, like take David and Goliath. You know, Goliath was a giant. David was a little guy, is what they say. And I just think it's so interesting that all the soldiers who were competent to fight Goliath ran the other way. But here David, he's a little guy, and he's like, let me have him. I got this. He was ready to run to his giant. Or think of like Daniel in the lion's den. I mean, he didn't know the outcome. He just knew he was going in the lion's den, and for all appearances, he was going to be eaten. And he's like, bring it on. I'm not going to compromise. I'm not settling. I know who God is, and so throw me in. And he just had the faith to be in the mouth of the lions. Or, I was thinking of one of the girls here at church. She's young, and she was just diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And, when I was talking to her, she had done her first round of chemo, and she said, you know what, Sharon? Thank God for chemo. It's doing its work. And that was a real tilt to me, because it's not like I talk to millions of people, but I talk to a lot of people. And I've never once heard somebody grateful for chemo. Never once. Not that they're not. I mean, because sometimes chemo works and sometimes it doesn't. Chemo for sure makes you feel terrible. But her attitude was just so grateful. And I thought, this girl has a really sad song to sing, and she's not singing it. It's a whole different song. Or I think of Rochelle. Rochelle is she's our beauty girl from here, and she got married this weekend. And so Rochelle, she's been a single mom for 16 years. And, Rochelle has a sad story to sing, but she didn't. And for 16 years, she stayed the course, and she kept her heart on God, and she stayed pure, and she didn't quit believing, and she got married this weekend. And all those prayers, they all just summed up, right? And so why is it that, some of us have really sad stories, but we're not singing sad songs? And then some of us have really sad stories, and we're bitter and we're blaming, and we're angry and we're ugly. Why is that? It's because of the two mirrors. Okay, so now there's this I was thinking of these songs that we sing. This could poke a little deeper, okay? So we sing these songs here. They're great songs. But you have to admit, somebody has to at least be honest, beyond me. When we sing this song, you're never going to let me down. Does that put a lump in your throat? Because some of us feel like God has really let us down, right? If you were really honest, you'd say, I can't sing that. God has really let me down. It puts a lump in your throat. Or what about the song, Good, Good Father? Maybe some of us can't sing that because good, and Father don't go together. And we can't sing that because we don't know that Father. And that puts a lump in our throat and we can't sing it. Why is that? Why is that those kinds of words bring up those kinds of images? It's because of the mirrors we look in, right? There's the two mirrors that we look in. If you want to look in your Bible or on your phone, I look on my phone, it's in James, and it's in James 1, and it's James 1:22. And we're going to find it. I told Dale, I said, it's okay to take time to look because I'm always the slowest. But, okay, so it's in James 1:22 through 24. Don't fool yourself into thinking that you are a listener when you are anything but, letting the word of God go in one ear and out the other. Act on what you hear. Those who hear and don't act are like those who look and take a glance in a mirror, and then they walk away and they forget and they have no idea who they are. And so today, we're going to look in these mirrors. And what God is saying is that it's really great to come to church, and it's really great to hear, a sermon or a message or a talk or whatever you want to call it. It's really great, but if you let it go in one ear and out the other ear, there's no change. You're going to forget who you are. You didn't look deep. You didn't do. And so when you hear these things, I know that the change is when we can do it and not just hear it. So this first mirror that I call a life sucker, okay? And you know what? Truthfully, maybe some of you say your life sucks, and this is a sucky mirror. And maybe it is, okay? So this is the life sucker, okay? And this mirror, it's really shaped by our circumstances. So so many people have a lot of really sad stories and have been through a lot of really sad things. And maybe a lot of things that aren't fair. Maybe there's been... You've been a victim, you've been abused, you were abandoned, whatever. Maybe it wasn't fair. And you let these circumstances tell you who God is. And this is shaping your mirror. It's your story. Oh, God, you can't trust God. God's tired of you. God doesn't have a plan for your life. Look at you. You're a mess. You've messed up too bad. There's no hope for you. There's no road back. I don't even think what he says is true. Those are all circumstances that say, oh, this is who God is. Not only that, I think God might even be mad at you. I think he might be angry at you. In fact, he might go postal on you. Have you guys ever thought of that? Like, today's in a bad mood, don't approach him. No. So we let our circumstances shape and say, oh, this is who God is. And then we have these expectations and assumptions, and that shapes who we think God is. Like, one expectation that I put on myself is when I was newly married, I decided this is what a good wife looks like. And so I thought, every day when Dale comes home from work, I'm going to be waiting outside. And when he drives up, I'm going to jump up, and I'm going to say, yay, Dale's home. And I'm going to hug him, and I'm going to say, thank you for going to work for me. And that's what a good wife does, right? Okay, so we've been married almost 41 years. How many times have I done that? 0. Not one time. And so that expectation is like, well, Sharon, you're just a bad wife. You're just an insensitive wife. You don't care. And that comes on me, and that starts to shape my mirror, It starts to tell my story. Assumptions, we make assumptions on people all the time. You size them up. In fact, me and Dale were laughing because this week we went to Golden Corral, and they were serving steak. And, and we go there sometimes because it's like, well, we could stick more with our diet. Like, there's a lot of salad and vegetables, and, you can get fish and blah, blah, blah. And so anyway, so they're serving steak, and he comes back with this huge chunk of steak. And he's like, Sharon, this is too much. You got to share with me. And I said, no, I want my own. So, so I go up to get my steak, and the guy gives me a little tiny piece. And I went back to the table, and I said, Dale, what does this mean? Did he size us up? What happened here? we just didn't have equal proportions. But we do that with people, don't we? We size people up right away. Right away. This is how they look. This is how they smell. This is how they dress. This is what they blah, 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 blah. And we size them up. And we don't even know their story. And we do assumptions. And it shapes our mirror. It shapes our mirror, and it starts to tell our story. And then one of the other things is lies. Lies, I hear lies every day. And they don't always go out my other ear. They'll go in one ear, and sometimes I entertain the lies. And it takes me a while to even know their lies. Like, like Sharon, you're a bad mom. And, all of you guys have had kids that blame you for all their problems. And a lie is to take that. Now, not that we don't make mistakes. I mean, moms own it. If you made mistakes, apologize. But we buy that we're bad moms because we just take all the blame for everything, and it just isn't true. One of the things I've had God really whispering to me about lately is Sharon, how I'm there for you? I'm there for your kids too. And how I talk to you? I talk to your kids too. So it's not my responsibility to make everything go however, and that's a lie that we really buy into, is that I'm a failure, I'm a mistake, I'm not smart enough, there's no hope, one of the ways that you are looking in this mirror that sucks your life is ask yourself the question, what do I need to be happy? And if the answer is things, people, circumstances, cars, it's at the wrong mirror. Or what in my mirror is telling me it's hopeless? That there's never a different life for me. You're looking in that mirror. Those are clues that you're looking in that mirror. Circumstances, assumptions, expectations, lies, they all crack our mirror. And this isn't like me saying, oh, you have a cracked mirror. No, this is me saying we guys have cracked mirrors. We all have really cracked mirrors. Some of us, our mirrors are shattered. And all of these things, they crack our mirrors. Cracked mirrors, they really will set your story. They really will set your future. One mirror that I look into often that's cracked is it's the lie of religion. You're not doing enough. You're not praying enough. You're not loving enough. You're not serving enough. It's more, it's more, it's more, it's more, it's more. You don't know enough, you're not smart enough, and oftentimes that mirror of religion, it'll just put a lot of shame on you. Because, golly, when you come to Jesus, he's the one that's enough. You really learn that there's not a one of us that's enough, right? So this other mirror, this one is the one that sucks your life. It sucks your future. It sucks your today. It sucks any promise. It sucks any blessing. Then there's got to be this other mirror, right? So this other mirror we're saying this one is a life giver. And if you want to turn to Mark 1:40, a leper came to Jesus, begging on his knees, "If you want to, Jesus, can you cleanse me?" Deeply moved, Jesus said, "I want to." He stretched out his hand and he said, "I want to." And I just really felt like, God, he has a word for some of us today. And it's, don't give up. And don't give in. And don't run. And don't hide. Because there is a Jesus here today. And he really is here. Even though we don't see him, he really is here. Yeah. And he is stretching out his hand. And he's saying, I want to. I want to. I want to change your story around. I want to change your future around. Oh, I know it's not going to be easy. Who said it's going to be easy? But I want to turn it around. Jesus is here. So this life-giving mirror, this one is a supernatural mirror. This mirror is like all the education and all the research will try to say, God can't do that. Like it'll say, it's impossible. God can't make the lame walk. But over here, the lame walk. It's supernatural. It goes against the mind. What Jesus can do, there is not enough meds to fix it. I don't care how much meds you have to take. You cannot fix the problems of your heart, but Jesus can fix it. He's the only one who can fix these broken, shattered hearts. It's all him. The other thing about this, not only is it supernatural, it's redemptive. This mirror is redemptive. And, I know a lot of you guys know this story about my Molly girl, so I'll just kind of fast forward through it. But, a redemptive mirror takes your saddest story and it turns it inside out, wrong side up, and it redeems it. Oh, it doesn't change. It doesn't change what happened, but it redeems everything. And so my Molly girl, we adopted 2 girls way back. And Molly she was born addicted to heroin. And at the time when we got the call for Molly to see if we wanted her, there was a commercial on during the NCAA playoffs. And this commercial, it just had a door. And on the door was a sign. And the sign said, "Born loser." And then you open the door, and it was just a whole nursery full of addict babies. And there was no words to that commercial. It just came up the caption, "Moms don't do drugs," is what it said. And so when that commercial came up, we just had this sense, because, we were wrestling, like we had 5 kids at this point. Were we going to adopt Molly? What were we going to do, And we just heard God say, "Watch what happens when you put a born loser in my hands. Just watch what happens." And so Molly was in the hospital a while. She, went through withdrawals a long time. And the doctor told us when we took her home, he says, "The only thing I can tell you is that she's not HIV positive, that she's going to be like a fetal alcohol baby, and she's going to have all kinds of behavior problems, and probably will never graduate high school, and for sure not college." And so, we just had a promise. That's all we had. Watch what happens when you put a born loser in God's hands. And so, now Molly is a labor and delivery nurse, and engaged, and delivering babies to addict moms. Is that like, yeah. That is just, it's not only to addict moms, because she's a labor and delivery nurse, but she sees lots of addict moms. And that's a redemptive story. That's a story that was so sad that the doctors didn't have much of a promise or a future for her. And it's been turned upside down, wrong side out. And it's a story that's redemptive. And it's a story that's going somewhere. And so that's what God does. He changes our stories. It doesn't necessarily change our circumstances. And it doesn't necessarily change the outcome. But it changes everything about our story. Our perspective changes everything. That's why people with the saddest stories can sing glad songs and grateful songs. When you look in this mirror, you can almost be certain that you're going to shake your fist at God, and that you're going to blame, and you're going to be bitter. This is an easy mirror, right? This is an easy mirror. And God's mirror, it's a challenge, because you have to do it. You can't just hear it. You have to do it. So Jesus, he's handing us this mirror. And it's a mirror in the shape of a cross. There's no way a story can be rewritten. There's no way there's a promise of a future. There's no hope for a story that doesn't start at the cross. That's where the story has to start. That's where forgiveness flows. That's where you come and you bring all your cracks and you say, "God, it's me. I've blamed you. I've blamed everyone else. In fact, God, I pretty much hate everyone. In fact, maybe I'm even thinking of killing myself and calling it quits." That's where you just bring all your cracks and you just say, "It's me, God. I have all these cracks. But I have no hope for a future if I don't come and bring them to you. Because that's where my future begins, is at the cross. It's something that you have to do. You can't just hear. And the way you do it is you see it, you read it in the Bible, his words, and you listen for his whispers. Because his whispers are going to anchor you. It's going to anchor you through life. You know, when my mom was dying of cancer, I remember just wrestling with, golly, God, she's in such good shape, and why is it the rarest cancer on the planet? And, and so you're just wrestling with all those questions. And I remember God whispering, it was a whisper, and he told me, Sharon, cancer will never get the last word. And I said, man, that was just my anchor, And you just need those anchors. You need those anchors that are going to help you through your story. And those anchors, they will never disappoint you. God is that anchor. He's that anchor. And so now when we worship, I'm totally confident that me and my mom are around the throne worshiping together. It's a really great feeling, like, hey, Mom. How's it going up there? Right? So I was just going to close with this little story here. So this tree, some of you remember last year we had a Daring Faith campaign. And the Daring Faith campaign was, we were daring to believe God for money this church doesn't have to do these renovations that are beyond our expertise, but this building is in desperate need of help. And so this Daring Faith was all about that. So these little trees we got, they were like this big. They were in a little baggie. And we were kind of dared to go plant them. And so I did. Did any of you guys plant your trees in here? Yes. Are they growing? They're growing awesome? So I took mine home, and I planted it in a pot. It didn't seem like it had a chance. A few times, it looked like it was on its way out. But we got it back growing. And so the thing is with this plant, it was just the next thing. You just do one thing. With this mirror, just do one thing. So I put it in a pot, one thing. Put it in a nice place, one thing. Gave it water, one thing. Some sunshine, one thing. Before you know it, in a year, it's like 5 times its size. And so if this little tree could look back on its life, it would say, I've made progress. It's the same with us. Just do one thing. It's just one thing. Don't look how far you have to go. Don't look at all of this, the rear view. Let's just look at Jesus right now. And, and there's just mercy here. His mercy is just flowing. And Jesus is just saying, today's the day, guys. Today's a day for a new story. Don't stay trapped. Don't stay trapped where you were. Today's a day. And so we just do one thing. We just come and we say, yes, Jesus. Today's a day. I don't want to just hear it. I want to do it. And I want my future to be a future with living. I don't want to stay here anymore. Amen.